Democrats, progressives, and moderates signaling broad agreement on a framework for the deal, but key disagreements pushing a vote on infrastructure back again tonight. Joining me now, the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. Secretary, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us. There's broad agreement on this framework, but progressives are again pushing the vote on infrastructure back, even in the face of the president saying that his presidency and the party's future are on the line. Why can't Democrats get this done?
Well, we are closer to getting this done than we have ever been. And that reflects, almost a year of careful listening, negotiation, building this. And the reason at the end of the day I think it'll happen is because it has to. This isn't just for Democratic Party reasons. This is because America needs it. Definitely we need the transportation investments that I'm looking forward to delivering in my department. But also you look at what's possible in this framework. I mean, dramatically transforming the ability to get preschool education in this country, a tax cut for tens of millions of families with kids, making it easier for people to get the care that they need and stay in their homes when they do it. Not to mention what's in there for climate and just a fair tax code that asks corporations and the wealthy to pay their fair share.
We're going to talk about more of what's in the package, but with all due respect, though, the question is what's taken. Americans want to know what's taken so long. We've heard from you, we've heard from other Democrats, we've heard from the Speaker of the House. Oh, we're going to get this done. And we've been hearing it for months. The question is, what is taking so long? Even at this final hour, there's still infighting.
I mean, look, crafting one of the largest and most consequential legislative packages in American history is not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that happens easily or simply. But it is happening before our eyes. And the president has shown the leadership to say, look, here are all the different things that we've taken into account. We've listened to everybody. And now it's time to do this. It's time to act. It's time to act. The American people are ready. The president is ready. And we're counting on Congress to get it done.
Let's talk about this, what is happening now, what's in it, and what the social spending safety net here. The social proposal is still a whopping $1.75 trillion, focusing on care for families, as you mentioned, addressing the climate crisis, expanding access to health care, and more. When you add in infrastructure, if they pass it, it would be a massive investment in this country. If they can get this done, what kind of a change do you think this is going to bring to Americans' lives?
I think every American is going to see a difference. I mean, you're going to see it in better roads and bridges. You're going to see it in better airports. By some measures, we don't have one of the top 25 airports around the world here in America. We've got to change that. You'll see it in better port infrastructure. Ports don't get a lot of attention until a time like this where you see how important they are to our supply chains. Americans are going to see it in having more access to broadband internet, getting lead out of the pipes that take water to families and children. And again, that's just the infrastructure part. 35 million Americans stand to benefit from the provisions around the child tax credit. That's the vast majority of anybody watching this interview right now who has kids, anybody who is thinking about preschool for their kids, anybody who has an elderly relative worried about home care and being able to afford it. Millions of Americans being able to get their health care premiums reduced or get out of these gaps when it comes to Medicaid. And of course, anybody planning to be around 10 or 20 or 30 years from now when we will either have succeeded or failed at tackling climate change. This is by far the biggest investment that our country's ever made in tackling climate change, and it's not a moment too soon.
Let's talk about what's not in the bill. Key Democratic promises like paid family leave, free community college, and more left on the cutting room floor. President Biden says that he is going to continue to fight, but realistically, how are you going to get those passed if you can't do it now?
Well, look, I'm a big believer in policies like paid family leave. So is the president. And what I would say is not only are we going to keep fighting for them, but if we deliver this historic package, if we pass that, then anything else that we try to do as an administration on the road ahead, we'll be doing from a position of even greater strength. One thing that I think everybody from moderates looking at who are coming from very close districts to progressives who are eager for us to make big transformative change. One thing everybody gets is that we need to deliver. And, success begets success. But let's also be clear, I don't think we should describe any of this as half a loaf. This is a lot of loaves all at once. Any one of the provisions in the Build Back Better framework would on its own represent a historic achievement. Taken together, this is truly massive. I mean, I think this could come to be known as the big deal. Texas had the Square Deal, FDR had the New Deal. Getting all of these things delivered in one administration, in one Congress, will be a very big deal for the American people. And, of course, something that will demonstrate that democracies, as the president often says, can get things done, and it's still the best way to govern a country in the face of some of these competing models that are out there around the world trying to say that they can do a better job of delivering for their citizens.
Secretary Buttigieg, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.